Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Riley's Kingdom of News right here on WRMK News Radio. Let's get started right now. First up, JetBlue is finally coming to New Hampshire to the Manchester airport. Let's take a listen to that report right now.
Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today is the day I hope you will donate.
1 day and 5 new routes. Officials say the airport is growing at a record pace.
I think this is probably the single largest expansion we've had in 1 day at the airport, probably in a very, very, very long time.
Available Airlines is responsible for 2 of those new destinations, now adding routes to airports near Charlotte, North Carolina, and Orlando, Florida. And starting this winter, passengers will have the option to go to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Myers, courtesy of JetBlue.
JetBlue.com, you can type in MHD and book away.
Airport officials have been working to get the airline on board for a long time.
The last few communications that we had with them was really showing them who the customer really was in Manchester and how that aligned with the customers that they are attracting out of Logan and also out of Providence.
And Kitchen says those customers prioritize convenience.
I could fly to Boston, and I do sometimes, but I prefer this airport mainly because it's an hour and a half less of a drive, and the traffic is very easy.
I've actually timed from when I park my truck in the parking garage to the gate is about 12 minutes.
And sometimes the best part about flying out of the Granite State is the coming home.
It's home for me, so it's the best airport.
The JetBlue tickets start at just $49, and Kitchen says he hopes they sell because if they do, it could mean even more opportunities for expansion. In Manchester, Isabel Litters, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Great news for that Manchester airport. 2 more troopers tied to the Karen Reed case under investigation. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
This morning, a new twist in the murder case that's captivated the country.
It's happening, guys! It's happening!
2 Massachusetts state troopers who testified in the trial of Karen Reed, the 44-year-old accused of backing her SUV into her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, are now the subject of an internal affairs investigation, according to a police statement. During the trial, Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully testified Reed made dozens of calls to O'Keefe the night he was killed.
There were 53 phone calls from Miss Reed to a phone number associated with John O'Keefe.
While Sergeant Yuri Buchnick testified, he questioned Reed hours after she found O'Keefe's body in the snow.
She stated that she's willing to answer our questions. She just doesn't want to go into too much detail.
Both officers remain on active duty while they're being investigated. Though it's unclear if the probe is connected to the Karen Reed case, it comes this same month the lead trial investigator was relieved of duty after admitting he'd sent offensive texts about Reed.
The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of.
The latest investigation raising new questions weeks after the Karen Reed trial dramatically ended in a hung jury.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
With the defense now arguing the jury was only hung on the manslaughter charge, and it found Reed not guilty of second-degree murder, pointing to a text from one of the jurors saying no one thought she hit him on purpose. Earlier this week, with dueling demonstrators once again gathered outside, pro-defense in pink and pro-prosecution in blue, Karen Reed, who recently listed her Massachusetts home for sale, high-fived a supporter on her way into the courthouse.
During that hearing, the judge set 2 new key court dates. Karen Reed's second trial for the murder of John O'Keefe is now set for January 27th, 2025, almost 3 years after his death. And that motion to dismiss is now scheduled to be heard August 9th. NBC News reached out to the 2 state troopers now being investigated, but did not receive a response.
All right, keep us posted on it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Colbert defense files for Idaho student murder trial to be moved. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
At State versus Brian Koberger.
The trial date is now finally set, but the battle to move his trial out of town.
If you deny a change of venue, Mr. Koberger's constitutional right to a fair trial is denied.
Still wages on. Now, in a new court filing, Brian Koberger's attorneys argue that Latah County has been utterly corrupted by press coverage, making it one of those rare cases that requires a change in venue. Koberger is charged with the murders of Madison Mogen, Kayla Gonsalves, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, 4 University of Idaho students found fatally stabbed in their off-campus home in November of 2022. Prosecutors say the trial, currently set for summer 2025, should stay in Latah County, where the killings took place.
We at least owe the people of Latah County the attempt to seat a jury here first, and not just rely on there's been a lot of publicity. There's been a lot of publicity everywhere.
But Koberger's attorneys argue that the Latah County jury pool is prejudiced by extensive publicity that's ongoing and inflammatory.
Right now, he's being held to have a trial in a county that believes that he is guilty.
The defense, citing a survey they conducted, finding 70% of locals have already formed a guilty opinion of Koberger, arguing the trial should be held in Idaho's largest county, in Boise. But the state is pushing back.
It's not Moscow. It's not Latah County. It's everywhere. So I don't think that a change of venue is going to solve any of these problems.
Overnight, an attorney for Kayla Gonsalves' family saying they believe it's a no-brainer to keep the case in Latah County.
It would be an incredible hardship on all of the family and friends that are going to be attending this, as well as the witnesses, the prosecution, the defense. Everyone has to move the entire case 6 hours away.
All right, Laura, so let's talk about the odds. What's the likelihood that this case actually does end up being moved?
I think it's pretty high. I've talked to even prosecutors down there, and they've said, look, the issue is that the community is so tight that the jury pool is going to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. We're talking about the difference between over 500,000 residents in Boise versus 40,000 people in the community that we're facing here. And so even though media attention has been national, I think that's the real issue you're going to see in front of the judge.
All right, Laura, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay, and there you go on that report. Kamala Harris weighs potential VP picks as 2024 race heats up. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
All right, Garrett, thank you. Let's turn to Kristen Welker, moderator of Meet the Press. Kristen, good morning. Let's start right there. The Republicans obviously had designed a campaign to compete against Joe Biden. Now it's Kamala Harris. Have they figured out how they want to take on this VP candidate?
Savannah, it's so fascinating. We're sort of watching former President Trump try to figure out what his attack lines are going to be in real time. In some ways, he seems to be throwing the kitchen sink at her and trying to see what sticks and what fits. It's not clear that he's really landed on a clear line of attack just yet. And it comes as polls show, look, she is frankly more competitive against former President Trump than President Biden was. Now, it could be days, if not weeks, until the polls really give us a clear sense of the state of this race. But she's got two big inflection points coming up, Savannah. Of course, her pick of a running mate and the Democratic National Convention. All of this aimed at reintroducing herself to voters who might be skeptical of her, Savannah.
Yeah, I misspoke a moment ago saying VP candidate. It's on the brain. So let's talk about it. She's got to pick a running mate. They're vetting several people. And you have word this morning about former President Obama endorsing Kamala Harris sooner rather than later.
Well, that's right. First, let's talk about Obama. We are told, and our team who's been working on this has been told, that he has been advising her behind the scenes. They are preparing for a big, splashy endorsement. So that's going to be another moment for her to really showcase who she is and try to reintroduce herself, while tying herself, of course, to arguably someone who is incredibly popular in the Democratic Party. In terms of running mates, I'm told Josh Shapiro, a name to watch. Peter just mentioned him, obviously, governor of Pennsylvania. He is someone, Savannah, who gets high marks with Democrats and Republicans. So he's got that bipartisan appeal. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, he's also from a critical swing state. She has a real relationship with him. The two served as attorney generals at the same time. And then Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, all of them moderate white men, someone who could offset that charge charge from former President Trump that she is too extreme. We'll be watching closely, Savannah.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much.
Hey,
Okay, and there you go on that report. What do you guys think? Let me know. Email us right now and let us know, or comment below under this video. The 24 days that led to the end of President Joe Biden's 2024 campaign.
Circle it. Circle. Let me circle it. I can find anything if I circle it. So let me circle it.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history.
It was a tough race. It's brutal now. With the greatest respect, I don't think he's up for it.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
Biden addressed the nation for the first time since ending his re-election bid. Let's take a listen to that report.
Breaking today, we start with President Biden addressing the nation overnight for the first time since ending his bid for another term. I want to go back to our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning again, George. Well, this address from the president last night really did feel like Joe Biden's love letter to the country that he has devoted his life to serving. His chance to come before the American people and explain for himself his remarkable decision to pass the torch. Biden saying it's time for fresh voices to go ahead and finish the job he started.
My fellow Americans.
Overnight in the Oval Office, President Biden explaining directly to the American people his historic decision to bow out of this race, describing it as a patriotic necessity to preserve the country he loves so dearly.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title.
The president who ran in 2020 casting himself to be a bridge to the next generation of leaders, saying now is the time to make good on that pledge.
But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
With 6 months left in his term, Biden making it clear he still has work to do. One top priority, doing everything he can to help Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump.
She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country.
The president with this parting message.
The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands.
Now, the president made no mention of how we got to this point. He did not at all hit on those concerns about his age and mental sharpness that led so many Democrats to question whether he could serve another term. But he certainly did make clear there is a lot more work he wants to get done here over the next 6 months. First and foremost, helping to get out the vote for Kamala Harris. Robin. All right, Mary, our thanks to you.
Okay, and there you go on that report. That does it for this Thursday edition of Riley's Kingdom News, right here on WRMK News Radio. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and goodbye.